Some Mercedes models are the epitome of on-road luxury. Others are almost unrivalled for off-road prowess. And then there's one which claims to offer the best of both, the GLS. This is one of the very few super luxury SUVs that can seat 7 fully sized adults, and it claims to be able to do so while offering a properly dynamic drive on road as well as extreme capability off it. This is the 3rd generation design in this model line, and it claims to be smarter, plusher, more refined and even more appealing than before. The GLS is a model that Mercedes bills as the S-Class of SUVs. Here's the 3rd generation X167 series version. It's a luxury conveyance for those whose real, or more likely imagined, commute to the everyday world is from a craggy mountaintop. We first saw this design back in 2007 when it was launched as the GL class, built in America for global sale, but primarily seen since occupying super-sized shopping mall spaces from New York to New Orleans. At that X164 series model's introduction, there were plenty of experts predicting that a GL would be too large for our market, but not for the first time they were wrong. Buyers realised sooner than journalists did that this Mercedes could offer something that you couldn't get on a rival 7-seat Audi Q7 or Volvo XC90 luxury SUV, namely proper space in the rearmost 3rd seating row for 2 fully sized adults. So, Mercedes sold more GLs than they'd expected to in Europe. A sales momentum continued with the launch of a 2nd generation X166 series version in late 2012. It was practical, luxurious and could go almost anywhere. But whether, as promised, it was the S-Class of SUVs was still more debatable. A GL class might be more spacious and versatile than a similarly priced Range Rover, but it simply didn't offer the same exclusive upmarket feel. The Stuttgart brand had convinced itself that this model could do that though, and set to work to prove the point. That Mark II GL was updated and rebadged as the GLS in 2016, but the real step forward came in 2019 with a completely new generation X167 series design, this car. Also badged GLS, but luxuriously redesigned in almost every conceivable way. By now, though, the idea of supersizing the large luxury 7-seat SUV concept had been copied by another brand, BMW, with its X7, another US-built and targeted model that offers this GLS its most direct segment challenge. But thanks to a wheelbase increase for this generation design, this Mercedes is a little longer and wider, and perhaps that bit more aspirational. There's even a version, the Mercedes Maybach GLS, that seeks sales in the exclusive SUVIP sector amongst Bentley Bentegas and Rolls-Royce Cullinans. The GLS is, in short, the car that brings together everything Mercedes knows about luxury and SUV motoring into one very complete and potentially very desirable package. And we're going to test it. Not everyone is going to feel comfortable piloting something of this size, but provided you do, then GLS motoring is a pretty fabulous way to view your everyday world. The great all-round visibility that you get from your lofty perch behind the wheel makes manoeuvrability a lot more straightforward than you might expect, and in any case other road users tend to scatter as you bear down upon them. Now, there are, in theory, 2 models on offer, but given that one of them, the Mercedes-AMG 63 4MATIC Plus, has a thirsty 4-litre petrol V8 installed up front, in practice almost all sales will be of the GLS 400D diesel variant that we're trying here. If you happen to be familiar with the previous generation X166 series GLS, then you'll be expecting a few mechanical changes, given the way that model was merely a lightly evolved version of a design originally launched way back in 2012. Sure enough, there's a stiffer, more sophisticated all-new MHA, that's modular high architecture platform. And the diesel engine on offer here is also different, now a straight six, and now putting out 330 horsepower, 72 horsepower more than the previous shape GLS 350D could manage. The way that it transmits torque to tarmac's different too, and much more sophisticated. The old model had a fixed 50-50 torque split front to rear. This time round, power delivery is variable between the axles, generally defaulting to rear-wheel drive on tarmac, but able, on demand, to shift up to 50% of torque frontwards via a clever centre differential. You can monitor this via a special 4matic display selectable on the instrument binnacle screen. We're told that this GLS apparently is one of Formula One driver Lewis Hamilton's favourite choices from the Mercedes model line when it comes to selecting his company car. Presumably that's because he wants something completely opposite to the kind of thing he'd drive in his day job. This GLS fits that brief perfectly. As to be fair, you'd expect, given its sheer bulk and 2.5 ton weight. To try and help matters, there's the brand's usual dynamic select driving mode system with comfort or sport driving modes, plus an off-road option, we'll get to that, and an individual menu that'll allow you to choose your own drive parameters. Now, there's no auto setting to make all the decisions for you though. As usual, the dynamic select settings adjust steering feel, throttle response and gear shift timings from the super smooth 9-speed 9G-tronic auto transmission. Plus, in this case, they also alter ride quality from the Airmatic air suspension system, which is fitted as standard on all models imported for our market. The Sport mode will prompt the Airmatic suspension to reduce ride height by 15mm, which will happen whatever setting you're in at cruising speeds in order to improve the aerodynamics. But the improvement of ride quality is obviously the main focus, with the adaptive damping built into the Airmatic setup. With Dynamic Select set in comfort, this initially seems pleasingly supple, if not anything like as pillowy soft as in an S-Class, but it gets more upset by harsher surfaces and things like speed humps than would a rival BMW X7, though that's partly because this Mercedes rides on slightly bigger wheels. The Stuttgart engineers have a fix for this, a road surface scan feature that scans the road ahead with a stereoscopic camera as you drive, priming the suspension for bumps even before you reach them. We've tried it on an S-Class and it works brilliantly, which makes it all the more annoying that you can't specify this system on GLS models bound for our market. Other countries get road surface scan as part of an optional E-active body control package, which also includes something else we can't have, a curve tilting function, which basically replicates the active anti-roll bars that you can have fitted to that rival BMW X7 to reduce lateral body roll. What Mercedes hasn't developed for any of its markets is the kind of four-wheel steering system you can have on that rival X7, and when so equipped, the BMW feels more manoeuvrable at low city speeds as a result. Out of town, traction and body control's better than you'd think it might be from such a high-sided 2.6-ton SUV. The big, well-calibrated brakes, with discs that measure up to 400mm in diameter, are progressive, positive and reassuring, and you waft pleasurably about on a 700 Nm wave of torque, which sees the 62 mph sprint dispatched in just 6.3 seconds. That's as quick as a Fiesta ST hot hatch, en route to 148 mph. Figures like that make you wonder why anyone would feel the need to stretch on further to the 612 horsepower Mercedes-AMG GLS 63 4matic Plus petrol V8 version. But if you do, you can improve those readings to 4.2 seconds and 155 mph, or 174 miles an hour in the executive version that features an AMG driver's package, which removes the usual speed limit restrictor. This performance petrol engine now features Mercedes' mild hybrid 48-volt electrified technology, which uses an integrated EQ boost starter alternator. It combines a starter motor and an alternator in a single powerful electric motor compactly integrated between the engine and the bespoke AMG Speed Shift TCT 9-speed auto transmission. Now, this develops an extra 22 horsepower of output and 250 newton meters of extra torque for particularly quick sprints from standstill or fast overtaking. Plus, the starter alternator can also provide hybrid functions like energy recuperation, gliding at cruising speeds, and restarting the engine as part of the start-stop function. Now, all of this will probably be of cursory interest to likely AMG 63 customers, who will probably be more interested in the fact that this wild derivative also has bespoke AMG tuning for the suspension, the brakes and the performance exhaust, which will entertain you with an array of snaps and crackles as you exercise this model's prodigious 850 newton meter reserve of torque. But let's get back to the core GLS 400D diesel variant we're focusing on here. We should talk about this car's off-road capability. There's much more of it here than can be had with that BMW X7 model we keep mentioning, even in the standard model form we have here. Earlier, we mentioned the off-road dynamic select driving mode, which optimizes all of the car's systems for off-piste driving and raises the airmatic suspension by 60 millimeters. This mode also activates specific mud plugging settings for the ABS, stability and traction control systems. And there's a selectable inclinometer in the instrument binnacle display. If you want to regularly off-road in this car, though, you'll want to pay the extra for the optional off-road package. This pack includes a feature normally quite unknown in luxury SUV circles for any product without a Land Rover badge, a low-range gearbox, which allows nearly triple the torque acting on each wheel for optimum traction. Plus, it also gives you hill descent control. Mercedes calls it downhill speed regulation, along with, for really difficult terrain, an extra selectable Off-Road Plus setting in the Dynamic Select Driving Mode system, which can automatically raise the car by up to 90 millimeters based on terrain slope or wheel articulation. Other off-road package features include extra torque on demand technology, both for the traction and dynamic control systems, and for the clutch, which offers interaxle locking, able to alter distribution of drive torque from 0 to 100% between the axles. The package also includes a special look through the bonnet camera angle that at low speed shows rocks and bumps directly in front of the vehicle. And there's also a special off-road light. This a mode in the multi-beam LED headlight repertoire that delivers a particularly wide, bright light distribution so that you can more easily spot dangerous obstacles at night. There's also an innovative off-road score app in the Mbux infotainment system, which scores you on your off-road prowess while offering you tips to do things better. It's then possible for someone else to drive the same course and to try and match your scores, which might be fun if you've a competitive all-wheel drive streak. However you specify your GLS, the 500mm wading depth remains. That's well below the 900mm figure you get from a Range Rover. By the way, you might be tempted by the off-road package if you'll be using your GLS for towing, which would be sensible, but bear in mind that it will reduce towing capacity from 3.5 tonnes to 3.3 tonnes. A retractable tow bar comes as standard here and is fitted complete with the brand's clever trailer manoeuvring assist technology. At up to 3 miles an hour, this can control your steering angle while you're reversing backwards while hitched up, as you monitor progress via dynamic guidelines shown as an additional part of the rear view camera display. That's one little touch you might like, and there are lots of others. The car wash function, which folds in the mirrors and moves the suspension to its highest position so that the wheel arches can be properly cleaned. The Magic Vision control wipers, which use washer fluid warned by engine coolant so that you get a clearer screen. The panoramic glass roof that adjusts its opening with vehicle speed to reduce buffeting. The climate system that switches to recirculation mode in a tunnel. The rear LED tail lamps that automatically adjust their brilliance to suit ambient lighting conditions so as to avoid dazzling following drivers. And the multi-beam LED headlamps that liaise with the navigation system to automatically adapt to right or left-hand traffic when crossing a country border. Someone's really thought about the ownership usability of this car. Whatever GLS variant you choose and whatever form you specify it in, as with all large luxury SUVs, the highway is where this Mercedes is in its element, aided by a standard active distance assist Distronic feature that draws from GPS live traffic data, which enables it to recognise and respond to tailback and slow-moving traffic even before you reach it. Now, you get this as part of an included driving assistance package, which, amongst other things, also includes active steering assist, which will basically do most of the steering for you in traffic or at a cruise. Plus, there's route-based speed adjustment, which, once you've programmed in a navigation destination, can automatically adapt your speed to the curves, roundabouts and junctions that you'll encounter throughout your journey. It's all very reassuring. So it's big. Of course it is. Even more so than the car it replaces, which already was large enough to make your neighbours question their right to light restrictions. This third generation X167 series design is longer, wider and higher than its predecessor. But the key change is an extra 60mm of wheelbase, which means there's now well over 3.1 metres between the wheels. Size matters, of course, in this segment. At 5.21 metres, this GLS may not be quite as long as an S-Class, but importantly, it's a fraction bigger than its key BMW X7 rival. And it's way bigger than Mercedes' pricier G-Class model, a comparative minnow at 4.6 metres. Even a long wheelbase Range Rover is 7mm shorter. In other words, you'll need quite a sizable garage. Having said all that, this time round the design is more effective in concealing its bulk, thanks to looks that are now quite sleek for something so huge and boxy. Mercedes design chief Gordon Wagoner reckons it has elegance reminiscent of a classic luxury saloon. We still think it's very much a supersized SUV. But now a far more imposing one. A more purposeful look comes courtesy of a twin power dome bonnet that flows down into a nearly upright radiator grille that'll be quite different depending on whether you've decided on this normal GLS 400D variant or the alternative Mercedes-AMG GLS 63 performance model. Unless you happen to own an oil well, you're more likely to want this mainstream diesel version, which has a twin louvered silver grille with diamond-shaped black patterning. This is flanked by piercing multi-beam LED headlights, which include daytime running lights, featuring 3 LED segments, a motif borrowed from the S-Class. And they also feature integrated fog lamps, where those would normally be is instead a short, subtle chrome strip on each side. A prominent chrome skid plate in the front apron adds a finishing touch. From the side, you really do get an idea of the scale of this piece of Stuttgart real estate. A steeply raked windscreen, generously sculpted arched surfaces, and a large glasshouse combined with this strong shoulder line and this distinct lower mid-level crease that gives the flanks some shape. And predictably, the wheels are huge. You can have rims on this car bigger than are available on any other Mercedes, up to 23 inches in size, which fill arches framed by flush-fitted liners. Little touches like this neat small kink upwards near the rear D-pillar help to make the overall look seem a little less bulky. As before, the effect is finished off with silver roof rails and aluminium running boards featuring rubber studs and jewel-like LED illumination. It's imposing from the back too, a powerful shoulder muscle extending from the rear doors to the two-piece LED tail lights with three-dimensional signatures, lamps linked by this central chrome strip. The reflectors are now relocated lower down, each just above large exhaust tailpipes, which are framed by this wide silver skid plate. Again, the look of the Mercedes-AMG GLS 63 variant, should you choose it, will be slightly different here. That model featuring a bespoke AMG rear apron with two rectangular, characteristically corrugated twin tailpipes. As usual, of course, what's more important is the stuff you can't see. In this case, a structure that's certainly more S-Class than G-Wagon, using the brand's modular high architecture platform, which is basically a lightly evolved SUV version of the MRA or modular rear architecture underpinnings used by the latest S-Class and by E-Class and C-Class models too. This structure is so stiff that Mercedes has been able to incorporate the segment's largest ever panoramic glass roof while still improving torsional rigidity. So, what kind of interior should a car like this have? Opulent, obviously, but S-Class-like? Is the luxury cabin of a boardroom-level limousine really appropriate to the lifestyle of a properly capable family SUV? Mercedes obviously doesn't think so, because behind the wheel here it doesn't really feel S-Class-like at all, which, as just suggested, might of course be completely appropriate given this car's rather different remit. You might still, though, be a touch disappointed to find it basically exactly the same here as it would be in the company's much cheaper GLE SUV model. A rival BMW X7 falls into the same trap by borrowing most of the cabinware from a lesser X5. In both cases, the Range Rover rivaling pretensions are somewhat undermined as a result. But apart from novelty value and exclusivity, is there any real need for the bespoke cabin architecture that would have added so much to the bottom line price here? What's on offer is so luxuriously presented that you could argue not. The dash and fascia design doesn't have the dramatic futuristic appeal of the latest S-Class, but compensation comes with this GLS model's much more commanding perch. You're quite cocooned here thanks to this high centre console, and you're surrounded by some lovely touches like these 4 rectangular silver air vents inset into this classy trimming panel. Everything's immaculately finished with a very high-end blend of stitched leather, open-pore wood and aluminium accents, and seems to have been generally very well assembled by the American Alabama factory in Tuscaloosa. The raised centre console contrasts with the free-floating appearance of the dashboard and, as with the GLE, incorporates 2 prominent grab handles trimmed with Artico man-made leather and aluminium inserts. These are artfully illuminated at night, part of a gorgeous ambient lighting system that uses coloured optical fibres in the fascia and in the doors to really bring the cabin to life after dark. But it's the screen tech that'll particularly grab your attention. As usual in large models from the Stuttgart brand, the central element in the dash design is a distinctively styled instrument panel which incorporates a 12.3-inch instrument cluster and a central media display the same size, both monitors housed behind a shared continuous glass surface. This impressive Mbux system has many infotainment functions, including Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, smartphone mirroring, and an in-car office section that'll read texts and emails for you. Mbux is also your portal into the standard 13-speaker Burmester premium sound system. And there's a brilliant 3D advanced navigation setup, complete with what Mercedes calls augmented reality technology. This is effectively a live camera feed of the road ahead, overlaid with house numbers, road names, direction arrows and other useful bits of information that'll help you find your way. All the Mbux functions can be controlled in various ways, the obvious ones being screen touch and use of this big central touchpad between the seats, plus there are smaller thumbnail pads on the wheel spokes, and you've other activation options too. Gesture control is standard, and there's the brand's Hey Mercedes voice control system, which in our estimation is a setup currently rivalled only by BMW for intuitive responsiveness. Conventional voice control technology usually requires certain specific voice commands from users, but this system's linguatronic natural speech recognition is pretty good at understanding, well, almost anything you ask of it. It's particularly good at things like finding new radio stations or telling you what the weather is at programmed destinations. Overall, this Mbux Mercedes-Benz user experience multimedia setup is supposed to take in-car connectivity to a new level, and it's certainly difficult to fault, though we think this central touchpad, though well designed, isn't quite as easy to use as the lower rotary iDrive controller in a rival BMW X7. This big touchpad deals with the various menus of the high-resolution media display just above, divided into radio, nav, phone, media, comfort and info segments, plus one for the various apps you'll be able to access, most notably the useful Mercedes Me setup. And if you scroll down further, you can access some of the various so-called themes: adventure, trip, experience, efficiency and lounge, which combine preset layout and colour styles so that you can quickly change the cabin ambience to suit your mood. There are some really sophisticated graphics in play across the menus of this monitor, especially when it comes to the real-time displays that you'll find in the vehicle section. The same functionality can be accessed via another tinier touchpad on the left-hand spoke of the Smart Sports steering wheel, and if you use that to access a provided centre screen settings menu, you'll be able to customise the separate digital instrument monitor ahead of you via various design layout choices. There's normal blue tinged classic, yellow themed sport, an orange progressive dial display and a darker minimalistic understated setup. Once you've decided what you want, you can use the other provided tiny touchpad on the right-hand steering wheel spoke to tailor the instrument cluster screen and bring what you'd most like to see into regular view, which is possible because the two virtual dials are both customizable. The left one normally shows a speedometer, but can also show either an analog clock, trip computer info, a trip itinerary screen, audio info, or off-road driving angles and compass settings. While the right-hand dial normally shows a rev counter, but can also show consumption info, a proactive eco display to aid efficient driving, GPS mapping, a G-force readout, safety assistance info, the status of the 4MATIC four-wheel drive system, and Airmatic air suspension settings. Finally, you can also tailor the area between the dials, the centre part of the instrument binnacle screen, where you've a choice of viewing a digital speedo, consumption info, that eco display, trip info, or a full screen option. What else? Well, the ergonomics aren't quite perfect. You'll initially be hunting for the starter button. It's curiously positioned down here by your left knee. There are some signs of volume production that you wouldn't get in a Range Rover. The panels for climate control and overhead lighting flex when you prod them, for instance. And if you happen to have forked out nearly £100,000 for an upper spec version of this car, the rather flimsy column-mounted transmission stalk it shares with a Mercedes Sprinter van might not be quite the kind of thing you'd have been expecting. What else? Well, despite the lofty seating position, all-round visibility could be a fraction better. Some might find that these relatively chunky front A-pillars slightly obscure their vision at junctions, and the relatively narrow back window and all those rear headrests will see you making frequent use of the standard 360-degree camera system and all-round sensors. The sensor info can also be projected into your line of forward sight on this standard head-up display, expanded in screen size to show far more than these kinds of setups usually do. Another standard feature we really like is the energizing package, which combines music, lighting and scent into a couple of selectable programs, Refresh and Vitality, aimed at rejuvenating you at the end of a tiresome day. There's also a training option aimed at relieving muscle strain on longer trips. Above entry-level trim, you also get an intelligent energizing coach feature that recommends individual programs based on the kind of journey that you're on. It can even communicate with a smartwatch or a fitness tracker should you be wearing one of those. Then automatically select a perfectly suited energizing theme. You can start directly just when you need it. As for cabin storage, well, there's pretty much everything that you would want. The smart slatted cover of this stowage area at the bottom of the centre stack slides back to reveal twin cup holders, a couple of USB-C ports and a wireless charging mat. Further back between the seats is another cup holder, but this one's of the thermal sort so that it can warm or cool drinks. It sits just behind this twin-lidded bin, which incorporates a further USB-C port together with the converter leads that you'll need for it. There are bottle holders in the deep door bins, the driver's one incorporating switches for the electric tailgate and the power deployable tow bar. And you get what initially looks as if it's going to be a spacious glove box, complete with a pen clip, though in actuality this is somewhat compromised in size by the need to incorporate the fragrance dispenser for the standard air balance package. You also get a storage net in the front passenger footwell and ticket clips on the sun visors, but there's no room around this dual light lighting panel for an overhead sunglasses compartment. Time to take a look in the rear. This X167 series GLS is 77mm longer than its predecessor, and the 60mm wheelbase increase we mentioned earlier means this car now has a wheelbase length 100mm longer than that of a long wheelbase S-Class, which sounds promising for backseat folk. The Airmatic suspension automatically lowers itself by 25mm when one of the doors is opened to aid getting in and out. And these wide sill steps help too, though they'll also decorate trouser legs and skirt tips with dirt. This is the part of the car where you most readily appreciate this large body shell's extra space. To be honest, the legroom can't match that of an S-Class, but there's 37mm more of it this time round, and also 7mm more headroom than there was in the previous GLS. Enough, in fact, so that 6-footers can easily be accommodated, even with this huge standard panoramic glass roof fitted, one of the biggest ever fitted to any production car. Plus, you not only get a backrest that can be adjusted for rake, but a seat base that can slide over a range of 100mm for extra knee space. All the adjustability is power operated via the switch panel on the immaculately stitched door card, which is where you can operate these powered side window blinds if they've been fitted. If there's ever a need to take 3 adult folk back here, the middle-seated person's cause will be helped by the relatively low centre transmission tunnel, above which is a pull-out compartment with twin USB-C ports sitting below the controls and the twin-provided vents for the standard 5-zone thermotronic climate system, vents in the ceiling and B-pillar feature for that too. Plus you get decently sized door bins, LED overhead reading lights and easy access to the front seat's thermal cup holder. Luxury touches include wood trimming on the front seat backs and intricately fashioned Burmester speaker grills in the doors. Heated rear seats are standard, and further up the range these outer seats are of the climatised multi-contour sort and incorporate a massaging function. Mercedes isn't, currently, offering UK customers the chance to replicate the US market and replace this second-row bench with a really luxurious two-seat arrangement. Not in mainstream models anyway. That layout does feature in the exclusive SUVIP Mercedes Maybach GLS 600 model. But if you stretch to one of the top executive trim levels, you do get something of a sense of opulence thanks to pillowy comfort spec headrests and the option of powering the front passenger seat forward so that you can really stretch out. These top variants also include this comfort spec central armrest, which folds down to reveal an integrated Mbux 7-inch colour tablet. This can control all of the Mbux comfort and entertainment functions from anywhere in the car: radio, TV, media, phone, web browser and so on. The armrest also includes 3 storage areas, 2 open and a lidded one with twin USB-C ports. Providing you avoid entry-level trim, you additionally get 2 11.6-inch seat-back screens, which together constitute the Mbux rear seat entertainment system, operational with Bluetooth headphones that can individually connect to every infotainment and entertainment element in the car. Finally, let's take a look at the third row. To get in, you click on this button on the seat shoulder to activate the powered easy entry function, which then operates with arthritic slowness that'll be frustrating if you're standing waiting in the rain. Still, once the aperture to the very rear is finally revealed, access through it is far easier than is the case with a comparable 7-seat Mercedes GLE, or indeed something else like an Audi Q7 or a Volvo XC90. That's part of what you're paying for here in this larger segment model. Once you're in these rearmost pews, it'll be abundantly clear that a 5,213mm vehicle length, that's 283mm longer than a GLE, still isn't quite sufficient for proper adult standards of legroom at the very back of a 7-seat SUV. Or it isn't in this one anyway. For some reason, despite the bodywork length increase, there's actually 10mm less legroom back here than there was with the previous generation model. There's also fractionally less elbow and shoulder width than there was before too. All of which helps to explain why a rival BMW X7 offers more room for adults here, if that's really what you need. In a GLS, if you're above school age, you'll need to persuade those ahead of you to move their centre bench base forward a little and slightly compromise their legroom. But a compromise is obviously a lot easier to reach than it would be with a 7-seater from the GLE, Q7, XC90 class of SUV. And unlike with most cars of that type, including the GLE, Isofix child seat fastenings are fitted back here as well as in the middle row. What else? The boxy shape means that headroom's okay. Mercedes says that folk up to 1.94 metres tall will fit. The headrests, which dig uncomfortably into your back when you first get in, are very stiff to adjust upwards, but the seats are of the proper thick kind rather than the space-saver sort that tends to be fitted to 7-seat SUVs in the class below. And you're reasonably looked after back here with a separate thermotronic climate zone and individual speakers that have a 2-way audio system that helps you better communicate with those up front. There are also curtain airbags that extend across the decently sized side windows, a couple of USB-C ports each side and a cup holder. And on this top executive variant, the seats are heated too. Finally, let's check out the boot, accessed via this huge, easy-pack, gesture-controlled, powered tailgate. With all 7 seats upright, there's actually more room than you'd expect. 355 litres measured to the parcel shelf, that's 60 litres more than the previous generation model could offer, 29 litres more than a BMW X7, and nearly as much as you get in the boot of a Golf. That's partly due to the surprising amount of space you get beneath the boot floor, easily enough to allow the parcel shelf to fit in down here. There's not enough space for any sort of temporary spare wheel though. Having to rely on a fiddly tyre repair kit seems unforgivable in an SUV this capable. You lump your stuff in over this impractical chrome-covered loading lip, but getting heavy items in will be aided by the way that you can lower the air suspension by 50mm via this right-hand cargo sidewall button. Further buttons on both sidewalls deal with electric seat retraction. Neatly, there's an all button on the left-hand side that flattens everything if you want to create a kind of VIP removal van in a single hit. We'll get to that. The switchgear to flatten the third row chairs is here on the right, and when these disappear into the floor, up to 890 litres of space is created, measured to the parcel shelf, 21 litres more than before. Apparently, 4 golf bags will easily fit with this configuration. Because the second row seat backs can be altered in angle, it's also possible to make them a touch more upright. Mercedes calls this the cargo position, which could make all the difference when you're trying to get suitcases in on, say, an airport run. And the 40-20-40 split of the second row backrest means that longer items like skis can easily be accommodated without disturbing a couple of rear-seated folk. If you go further and use these left-hand cargo sidewall buttons to fold down the second row seats, the GLS again reasserts its advantage over all its rivals. Though the retracted seats don't go completely flat, they fold to reveal an enormous 2,400 litre capacity that's 280 litres more than a BMW X7 and around 450 litres more than you'd get in, say, an XC90 or a Q7. You also get nearly 2.22 metres of cargo area length, 90mm more than the previous generation model could offer. There's nothing that can match it. At the time of this test in autumn 2020, GLS model pricing for the mainstream 400D diesel variant that we're looking at here started at around £77,000 for this car in base AMG line premium trim. You'll need about £8,000 more for the mid-range AMG line premium plus version, which will take you up to around £85,000. And a budget of nearly £94,000 is required for the plushest premium plus executive derivative that we're looking at here. Want another mainstream engine? At the time of this test in autumn 2020, there was no sign of that. Other markets get a lesser GLS 350D diesel variant with 286 horsepower and a GLS 580 V8 petrol model with 489 horsepower. But there was no sign as we completed this film that Mercedes would offer those derivatives here. The performance-orientated V8 petrol-powered Mercedes-AMG GLS 63 4MATIC Plus model is offered for our market in a couple of black-trimmed Night Edition forms. The standard Night Edition variant costs around £122,000, while the even plusher Night Edition Executive model pushes that asking price up to just over £130,000. If only the ultimate GLS variant will do, then you'll be one of the rare individuals tempted by the Mercedes Maybach GLS 600 4MATIC model, which commands an asking price of around £180,000. Yes, really. This variant gets its own bespoke look and its own bespoke interior, as you'd expect it would for that kind of money. In terms of where that positions this mainstream GLS 400D diesel model in the Mercedes lineup, think in terms of this black pump-fueled GLS costing around £12,000 more than an equivalent GLE model. That's the price premium for, say, a GLS 400D AMG line Premium Plus over an equivalent GLE 400D 7-seat AMG line Premium Plus model. If you're wondering, Mercedes' other large 5-seat SUV, the G-Class, cost at the time of this test from around £96,000 in G350D AMG line form. If you're persuaded by all the S-Class of SUVs style marketing, you might also want to know that a conventional Mercedes S-Class saloon is priced from about the same level as a base GLS, from just under £80,000. But if you wanted to match spec with spec, you'd find that an S-Class would probably cost you around £8,000 more. In terms of rivals for this GLS 400D from other brands, the main one, as we've been saying throughout this film, is the BMW X7. At the time of this test, the base xDrive 40D diesel X7 variant cost around £75,000, around £2,000 less than the base AMG line premium version of this Mercedes. Most X7 customers, though, choose an xDrive 40D with plusher M Sport trim, which at the time of this test cost around £78,000, around £7,000 less than a mid-range GLS 400D AMG line Premium Plus model. A Range Rover isn't really a direct rival because it only seats 5, but at the time of this test, the cheapest D300 version of one of those cost around £84,000, with a more comparable D350 Range Rover variant requiring a minimum £90,000 budget. Are there other luxury SUVs that could closely rival what's on offer here? Not really. You could talk about various Mercedes GLE-sized luxury SUVs with 7 seats, say a Volvo XC90, an Audi Q7 or a Land Rover Discovery, or maybe a BMW X5 or a Range Rover Sport fitted out with optional third-row chairs. But they're all really a size below this GLS, and these models can't really fit adults in their third-row seats with any real degree of long-distance comfort, which is, of course, why they cost £10,000 to £15,000 less. Still, if you were only going to use this car's third-row chairs for kids anyway, a plushly specified XC90, Q7 or appropriately specified Range Rover Sport might appeal as an alternative here. And what about if money's no object and you're minded to consider a GLS as a candidate for space in one of the oak-framed garages at your country manor house, maybe as something for the au pair to use for the school run perhaps? Well, we've already said that you can't have a 7-seat format in a Range Rover, and you can't have 3 seating rows in the ultimate SUVIP model, the Rolls-Royce Cullinan either. Which means that if that BMW X7 doesn't appeal, your only other luxury SUV option would be to buy a Bentley Bentayga, the cheapest petrol hybrid version of which costs around £65,000 more than a base diesel GLS, and pay extra for that car's optional third seating row. But an optional third row is always a cramped third row. In any case, it's the GLS that's actually the bigger of the two cars, and size matters when you're a multi-millionaire, or so we're told anyway. Earlier, we mentioned the wild version of this GLS model, the V8 petrol-powered Mercedes-AMG GLS 63 4MATIC Plus. With a whopping 612 horsepower on tap, plus a further 22 horsepower of EQ Boost Overboost, this obviously plays to a slightly different crowd. The X7 range certainly can't offer anything similar. Finding directly comparable options here is all but impossible because all the really prestigious Uber SUVs you might think of, say Porsche's Cayenne Turbo S e-hybrid, the Lamborghini Urus, the V8 supercharged Range Rover P565 long wheelbase, the Bentley Bentayga Speed, well, they're all based around a more restricted 5-seat format. They're all pricier too. Probably the GLS 63 4MATIC Plus model's closest rival is its own Mercedes-AMG showroom stablemate, the G63 4MATIC. But that lumbering G-Wagon SUV is obviously quite a different car. Anyway, if having considered all of this, you've concluded that it is some kind of GLS that you really want, then you're going to need to know just how generous Mercedes has been with the standard spec. Let's see, with a focus here on the GLS 400D variant that most customers are going to want. This diesel derivative uses the brand's 9G-tronic 9-speed auto gearbox and, like all GLS models, has airmatic air suspension with adaptive damping, accessed through the Dynamic Select driving modes system, which, as usual on a Mercedes, also allows you to adjust throttle response, steering feedback and gear shift timings to suit the way that you want to drive. And that's just the start. All mainstream GLS variants get AMG body styling. That's for the front apron, the rear apron and the side skirts. There are also piercing multi-beam headlights which have 112 LEDs per headlamp and adapt their beam to surrounding traffic and road conditions, delivering a forward beam of over 650 metres. That's the maximum light intensity permitted by law. Additionally included on the base model are big 22-inch AMG multi-spoke alloy wheels, heat-insulating dark-tinted privacy glass, roof rails, LED rear lamps, keyless go comfort keyless entry, an alarm and a powered gesture-controlled easy pack tailgate. Plus there are auto-dimming power-folding exterior mirrors that project a brand logo onto the ground as you enter or leave the car at night, soft closing doors that shut themselves if you leave them ajar, all-round parking sensors and illuminated side running boards embellished with aluminium look trim and rubber studs. To help slot this enormous SUV into spaces, you get a parking package with a 360-degree camera. And there's an electrically folding trailer coupling with a trailer manoeuvring assist system to help with low-speed towing work, where it does the steering for you and uses the camera system to zoom in on towing eyes you're reversing towards so that you can hook up more easily. Talking of cameras, as you'd expect, there's absolutely loads of cutting-edge camera safety kit too. That's taken care of by a driving assistance package of features that we'll cover off in a few moments. Inside, where the upholstery is trimmed with soft black or beige leather and the front seats are heated with lumbar support, an interior highlight is the 64-colour ambient lighting system which bathes the cabin with soft, soothing shades at night. There's also an air balance feature that ionises the interior air and subtly scents the cabin with a pre-selected fragrance. There are 5 choices. We've got Downtown Mood here. You also get 5-zone thermotronic climate control, which offers separate climate zones for all 3 rows and 3 different modes: focused, medium and diffuse. There's also a multifunction Napa leather stitch sports steering wheel, cruise control with a speed limiter, a head-up display, heated rear seats and a wireless charging mat. The front seats and the steering column are electrically powered with memory settings, and the second and third row seat folding is also electrically operated. Decor touches include anthracite open pore oak wood trim, stitched Artico leather for the dashboard and door cards, AMG floor mats and brushed stainless steel sports pedals. There's also an absolutely enormous panoramic glass sliding sunroof, the biggest available in the class, which is 50% larger than the one fitted to the previous generation model and made up of a heat insulating single pane of safety glass. You also get a clever energising package which combines music and those lighting and sense systems into a couple of selectable programs, Refresh and Vitality, aimed at rejuvenating you at the end of a tiresome day. The energising feature also has a training option aimed at relieving muscle strain on longer trips. The real cabin talking point, though, is the Mbux Mercedes-Benz User Experience multimedia infotainment system, which is controlled by 2 12.3-inch screens, one for the instrument cluster and another in the centre of the dash. Here, the Mbux system incorporates a 13-speaker Burmester surround sound system, including a feature that amplifies two-way voice volume for conversations between those at the front and those in the rearmost third row. Unlike with lesser Mercedes models, the infotainment system here has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto smartphone mirroring as standard, with no subscription charges either. And as ever, the Mbux setup's features include a DAB radio, Bluetooth and a live traffic information feature that's free for the first 3 years of ownership. There's hard disk navigation too, of course, and no ordinary sat-nav setup. This one offers what Mercedes calls augmented reality navigation. This is effectively a live camera feed of the road ahead overlaid with house numbers, road names, direction arrows and other useful bits of information that'll help you find your way. Plus, as usual, there's the brand's intuitive Hey Mercedes voice activation system, which you'll quickly find yourself using to operate many of the interior's features. It's been recently developed to be individual seat specific, so if the front passenger asks for seat heating, Mbux knows what seat to activate. It can also deal with more complex commands too. Mercedes reckons it can cope with something like, which child-friendly Asian restaurants nearby are neither Chinese or Japanese? Apparently, you can also ask it complicated things like, what is the fat content of avocados? We haven't yet tried that. There's another infotainment and feature activation option too. If you don't want to use the touchscreens, the touchpads or voice activation, Mercedes also includes its Mbux Interior Assistant, which allows various comfort and Mbux infotainment functions to be carried out by using specific hand gestures. Just extending your hand towards the interior mirror, for instance, turns the reading lamp on or off. By the way, we should also point out that all aspects of the Mbux setup use artificial intelligence, so the system can predict the kind of requirements that you might have next. For instance, if you regularly call your mother on your way home on Tuesdays, you'll get a reminder to do so. If you regularly select a certain radio station at a certain time, the system will prompt you to do that too. And beyond infotainment and media connectivity, well, there are loads of brilliant little design touches on this car. Here's just a few of our favourites. There's the car wash function, which comes in very handy for a large vehicle like this. When this is selected, the suspension moves to its highest position so that the wheel arches can be properly cleaned. Plus, the sunroof and any open windows are automatically closed. The exterior mirrors are folded. The auto wipers are automatically stopped. The climate control is set to air recirculation mode, and the camera system displays an image that makes it easier for you to drive into the car wash. Then there's the Magic Vision Control wipers, which use 50% less washer fluid than conventional wiper washers by precisely measuring out the fluid according to the prevailing conditions. The system uses waste heat from engine coolant to warm the fluid so that it's more effective and distributes it along the entire length of the wiper blade as the wipers move for crystal clear forward vision. Now, we also like the way the panoramic glass roof adjusts its opening with vehicle speed to reduce buffeting, and the way the multi-beam LED headlamps liaise with the navigation system to automatically adapt to right or left-hand traffic when crossing a country border. Also neat is the way the intensity of the rear LED tail lamps gets automatically adjusted to suit ambient lighting conditions to avoid dazzling following drivers. What about information technology? There's certainly lots of that here. Like all the latest Mercedes designs, this one incorporates what the brand calls car-to-X communication. This is a mobile phone-supported exchange of information system that'll see your GLS sending data on driving conditions back to a central hub, which then shares it with other Mercedes drivers. That'll mean that, in a way that's almost magical, your GLS will know in advance about things like icy conditions and traffic jams. It's very clever. And of course, there's an app. There's always an app, isn't there? This one's called Mercedes Me Connect and does all the usual vehicle monitoring things, like reminding you when a service is due, plus it can automatically detect and share with you details on your car's wear and tear items. In addition, the app gives you a one-touch button for fast accident and breakdown recovery and automatically alerts the rescue services in the event of an accident. It can even track your GLS if it's stolen, tell you if it's left pre-agreed geographical boundaries if you lend it out, and tell you where the vehicle is if you forget where you parked it. All that covers off what you get with standard AMG line premium trim. But a typical GLS buyer is probably going to want more and stretch at least as far as the mid-range AMG line Premium Plus model. The main change here is the addition of the Mbux rear seat entertainment system for the second row, which gives you two permanently integrated Full HD 11.6-inch touchscreens with Bluetooth headphones that can individually connect to every infotainment and entertainment element in the car, including the TV receiver, which also makes an appearance at this level. Other AMG line Premium Plus features include climatised multi-contour front seats with a massage function and comfort headrests, heated front and rear armrests, a front temperature-controlled cup holder, and an even more comprehensive Driving Assistance Plus package, which gives you extra camera safety features. As mentioned, we'll cover those in a moment. Now, we should also mention that the energising package that we touched on earlier gets more sophisticated if you can progress beyond base trim, provided in an energising package plus form that incorporates those multi-contour climate seats into its programmes and adds in two additional themes, rather cringily named Warmth and Joy. The Energising Package Plus also includes an intelligent energising coach feature that recommends individual programmes based on the kind of journey that you're on. It can even communicate with a smart watch or fitness tracker, should you be wearing one, then automatically select a perfectly suited energising theme that you can start directly just when you need it. So that's covered off the first two GLS 400D trim levels. Here though, we're testing the top of the range AMG line Premium Plus Executive model, identifiable by its larger 23-inch AMG 5 twin-spoke bicolour alloy wheels. Inside at this level, there's heat for the steering wheel and extra stitched Napa leather for the dashboard and door belt lines. Most of the executive embellishments, though, feature in the second row, which benefits from climatised multi-contour seats with massaging, electric sunblinds in the side doors, luxury rear headrests, rear side airbags, a temperature-controlled rear cup holder, rear wireless charging mats, and a front passenger side seat that can be electrically adjustable from the rear. Many functions in the second row can be operated by the provided Mbux rear tablet, a 7-inch removable screen which is built into the luxury centre armrest and offers control of all the Mbux comfort and entertainment functions from either of the rear two rows: radio, TV, media, phone, web browser, everything. So that's covered at the three trim levels offered with this GLS 400D diesel variant. Obviously, if you were to stretch to the top Mercedes-AMG GLS 63 4MATIC Plus petrol model, you'd want a bit more, which is why on that quick V8 version you get unique AMG trimming for the exterior, including a bespoke radiator grille design, plus the AMG night package finishing, which coats key exterior features in a mean shade of black. The standard Night Edition GLS 63 variant gives you pretty much everything you'd really want in an uber-fast, high-performance large SUV. There's special 22-inch AMG multi-spoke matte black alloy wheels, plus an AMG performance steering wheel with Dinamica Alcantara inserts and aluminium shift paddles. And you get a bespoke AMG Dynamic Select driving mode system with extra Sport Plus, slippery, trail and sand settings. These match up to various provided basic, advanced and pro level AMG Dynamics drive programs, which allow you to make the most of the various AMG engineered features: the AMG Ride Control Plus air suspension, including active roll stabilisation, the sharper AMG specific steering rack, the AMG Performance exhaust and the enhanced high performance braking system. Other little touches include AMG-specific menus and graphics for the interior screens, 5-zone thermotronic climate control, a Dinamica Alcantara-style roof lining, heated front and rear armrests, temperature-controlled front cup holders, and heat for the powered second and third row seating. Yes, you keep the third seating row in this top model. If you want more with a GLS 63, there's the Night Edition Executive model, identifiable by larger 23-inch AMG multi-spoke forged wheels with red painted brake calipers. Plus, this variant gets the AMG Drivers Package, which increases the top speed up to 174 miles an hour. Inside at this level, the AMG Performance steering wheel is trimmed in carbon fibre with Dinamica inserts, plus there's extended ambient lighting and a TV tuner. There's also an exclusive trim package which adds black piano lacquer finishing to the backrests and elegantly trimmed front seat backs with stitched Artico leather mat pockets. And with a GLS 63 Night Edition Executive model, you get the Mbux rear seat entertainment system with its twin Full HD 11.6-inch screens, along with all the extra second row features of this AMG Lion Premium Plus Executive model. That's the Mbux tablet, the luxury spec headrests and centre armrest and so on. Both Mercedes-AMG GLS 63 4MATIC Plus models benefit from the full spec Driving Assistance Plus package, which, as mentioned, we'll cover in a moment. That only leaves the uber-exclusive Mercedes-Maybach GLS 600 model that we mentioned at the beginning of this section. Here, the emphasis is a little different, as it has to be to interest Bentley Bentayga and Rolls-Royce Cullinan class buyers. This is a 5-seat only model, and it looks rather different from the front, where the usual Mercedes grille is replaced by one with vertical chrome struts. Plus, the bumpers have been redesigned, and most models will come with a signature Maybach touch two-tone paintwork. Chrome tailpipes with cross ribs and various Maybach brand emblems also feature, and the party piece here lies with active electrically extended illuminating running boards. These are hidden behind the side skirts and deploy when one of the doors are opened, as the air suspension automatically drops the car by 25mm. It's inside, though, where the Maybach GLS really distances itself from the standard model. There's an upgraded interior with Napa leather upholstery and unique trim elements, plus a 64-colour customisable ambient lighting system and special graphics for the digital instrument binnacle and infotainment screen, plus a 27-speaker Burmester surround audio system. So that's talked you through all the different GLS models. Let's say that you've decided on one, probably a GLS 400D of some sort like we have here, and you want to embellish it with a few options. What's on offer? Well, for us, the big disappointment here is that models for our market can't have the E-Active Body Control package that, in other parts of the world, gives this GLS a real dynamic edge over other large SUVs. This includes curve anti-roll features that almost eerily counter body roll through the bends, and a brilliant road surface scan camera system that anticipates bumps you're about to hit, pre-adapting the suspension in order to cushion them, so delivering a truly magic carpet level of ride. What you can have, and what you should certainly budget another £1,500 for if you'll be using this car for light off-road work, is the optional off-road package. This pack includes a feature normally quite unknown in luxury SUV circles for any product without a Land Rover badge, a low-range gearbox. Plus, it also gives you hill descent control. Mercedes calls it downhill speed regulation, a special look-through-the-bonnet camera angle that at low speed shows rocks and bumps directly in front of the vehicle, and for really difficult terrain, an extra selectable off-road plus setting in the dynamic select driving mode system. There's also extra torque-on-demand technology, both for the traction and dynamic control systems and for the clutch, which offers inter-axle locking, able to alter distribution of drive torque from 0 to 100% between the axles. The package also includes a special off-road light, this a mode in the multi-beam LED headlamp repertoire that delivers a particularly wide bright light distribution so that you can more easily spot dangerous obstacles at night. There's also an innovative off-road score app in the Mbux infotainment system which scores you on your off-road prowess. You might be tempted by the off-road package if you'll be using your GLS for towing, which would be sensible, but bear in mind that it will reduce towing capacity from 3.5 tonnes to 3.3 tonnes. On to aesthetics. For a change with Mercedes, metallic paint is standard, including this test car's selenite grey finish. But you'll need to pay your dealer more for one of the pricey Designo special shades, diamond white and hyacinth red. Practical options include roof carrier bars, a roof box and roof racks for skis, snowboards and bicycles. Talking of bicycles, if you want to transport them at the back of the car, you can add a clever fix-for-bike trailer coupling, which can allow you to take up to 4 cycles, and quite a weight too, up to 100 kilograms, which would be useful for e-bikes, which otherwise might be too heavy to be collectively carried. For the cabin, you can add in various extras onto the front seat backs, folding tables, coat hangers, and a mount for a tablet PC. Mercedes also offers a range of bespoke child seats. Enough with that. As promised earlier, let's switch to safety, which down the years has always been a primary consideration for Mercedes with this car. You'd expect an autonomous braking system, of course. Don't worry, we'll get to that. But in the meantime, we'll tell you that all GLS variants also get attention assist, which will monitor your driving reactions for drowsiness. There's also an active bonnet to protect pedestrians and, as you'd expect, tyre pressure monitoring and all the usual electronic aids for traction, braking and stability control are included too. You get the usual twin front, side and curtain airbags, those curtain bags covering the side windows all the way back to the third row. Plus, there's a knee bag for the driver. And side airbags for the outer seats of the second row come as standard with the top AMG line Premium Executive and Mercedes-AMG GLS Night Edition Executive trim levels. Across the GLS range, traffic sign assist speed limit recognition is built into the widescreen cockpit displays. Adaptive brake lights flash in emergency stops to warn following motorists. There's the usual trailer stabilisation function for towing, and an emergency call system alerts the rescue services with your exact GPS location if the airbags go off in an accident. There's also a crosswind assist feature that keeps this high-sided vehicle steady against gusting side winds. As usual with the Mercedes, there's a pre-safe anticipatory safety program that will tighten the seat belts, close the windows and even adjust the seats in a fraction of a second if the stability system deems an accident to be inevitable. Here, pre-safe protects your ears too if a probable impact is detected, transmitting a noise signal through the audio system speakers. This will, according to Mercedes, cause the stapedius muscle in your ear to contract, muffling the noise level of a major collision. We love little details like that. On a lesser Mercedes GLE, you'd have to pay more for the sophisticated camera safety tech incorporated into Mercedes' driving assistance package. But, as mentioned earlier, that's standard on a GLS, even on the base AMG line premium model. This package has a mixture of camera safety kit and autonomous driving tech. Now we'll start with the safety stuff and active braking assist, which here not only performs the usual emergency automatic braking function, but will also automatically brake the car if you're about to dangerously turn across another lane in front of another vehicle, say at a busy junction. Active braking assist also looks out for unexpected tailbacks and crossing traffic too. Testing has indicated that this whole setup will eradicate 20% of nose-to-tail accidents and decrease their severity in a further 25% of cases. Lane keeping assist is also standard, there to warn you if you drift out of your lane before applying subtle steering assistance to ease your GLS back to where it ought to be. What else? Well, there's active blind spot assist, which not only warns you if you're about to dangerously pull out in front of another vehicle, but applies light steering torque to correct the manoeuvre. Active blind spot assist also includes an exit warning feature that alerts you if you're about to dangerously open one of the doors in the face of oncoming traffic. There's an evasive steering assist feature that scans the road ahead for pedestrians and supports you in making sudden steering manoeuvres to avoid them. And you get a pedestrian warning function that alerts you at pedestrian crossings if someone's about to step out inadvertently in front of you. Plus, there's a Pre-Safe Plus feature that helps specifically with vehicles running into the back of your GLS, if necessary locking the brakes on standstill to prevent your car from being pushed into danger. You'll want to try the PAC's autonomous driving tech too. To experience this, you'll need to be on a dual carriageway and you'll have to have activated two of the key driving assistance package elements. Active Distance Assist Distronic and Active Steering Assist. The Distronic feature is basically a super advanced adaptive cruise control that automatically regulates your distance to the car in front and can, if necessary, remotely slow the car with up to 50% of stopping power. Active Steering Assist keeps you in the centre of your designated lane and will, if needed, apply steering correction to ease you where you ought to be. That steering assist feature also drives the Active Emergency Stop Assist system, which cuts in automatically should you be suddenly taken ill at the wheel, for instance with a heart attack or a seizure. In such a nightmare scenario, this feature will allow the car to seamlessly take over, initiating emergency braking and activating the hazard flashes. The driving assistance package additionally includes Active Speed Limit Assist, which ensures that detected speed limits are automatically adopted as the set speed for that Active Distance Assist Distronic cruise control system that we mentioned earlier. And route-based speed adaptation uses navigation data to automatically adapt your speed before curves, roundabouts, junctions and toll roads. With the AMG Line Premium Plus and AMG Line Premium Plus Executive models, plus both the Mercedes-AMG 63 variants, you get the Driving Assistance Plus package, which gives you everything just mentioned, along with two extra features. The first of these is Active Stop and Go Assist, which basically can effectively drive your GLS for you in stop and go traffic queues at up to 37 miles an hour, taking care of throttle, braking and steering. There's also a pre-safe impulse side feature that pre-senses an imminent side impact and, using active seat elements, moves occupants away from the doors so that they can better survive it. It's all very reassuring. One of the last bastions of diesel power in the modern automotive market is that for large SUVs. And sure enough, as with its predecessor, almost all sales of this GLS will be of the version that sips from the black pump, this GLS 400D diesel model. The switch in engine format from V6 to this current power plant's new generation straight six layout has helped efficiency here, as have a whole range of technical efficiency embellishments. We'll get to those in a second. What's more surprising is that from the launch of this X167 series GLS model, Mercedes declined to offer any kind of electrified technology beneath the bonnet, of the diesel version anyway. So this 3-litre diesel can't be had with the company's EQ Power mild hybrid tech and isn't available in a plug-in form either. That's significant because in its current form this car's 2,999cc inline 6 lags a little way behind the stats of its obvious arch rival BMW's X7 in equivalent xDrive 40D form. Let's get to the WLTP rated readings. This GLS 400D manages up to 30.7 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and up to 231 grams per kilometre of CO2. For an X7 xDrive 40D in comparable M Sport trim, the figures are up to 36.2 miles to the gallon and up to 204 grams per kilometre. Not too much research is necessary to establish the reason behind that Munich model's efficiency superiority here. Though this X167 series GLS is claimed to be 40 kilograms lighter than its X166 series predecessor, this 400D variant is still 170 kilograms heavier than that rival X7 xDrive 40D. Try lifting 170 kilograms and you'll get the idea. For reference, even a Range Rover, also slightly lighter in D300 form, also slightly betters this Merc, that D300 variant, managing up to 32.5 miles to the gallon and 228 grams per kilometre, thanks to the addition of mild hybrid tech. Ah yes, mild hybrid tech. Surprisingly, the GLS variant that gets this is the wild Mercedes-AMG GLS 63 4MATIC Plus V8 petrol version. Here, a 48-volt electrical system supplements the usual 12-volt setup, plus instead of a conventional alternator, this top model's EQ Boost power plant has an integrated starter generator that provides power for energy-sapping items like the water pump and the air conditioning compressor. Plus, it regulates engine idling and is integral to the brake energy regeneration system. Cylinder deactivation also features with this Performance AMG Derivatives 4-litre turbo unit, so under low to medium throttle loads you'll actually be driving a V4 rather than a V8 engine. Don't get your hopes up too much for the efficiency impact that all this tech will have. The GLS 63 manages up to 22.1 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and 291 grams per kilometre of CO2. For those wanting to feel better about that, we'll reference the fact that a comparable V8 supercharged Range Rover P565 long wheelbase 5-litre model manages only 18.6 miles to the gallon and a smoky 342 grams per kilometre of CO2. Here though, our focus is on the GLS 400D diesel variant that almost all customers of this Mercedes will want. Now, we mentioned earlier that various technology improvements now feature here, and there are plenty of them, including a diesel oxidation converter to avoid the emission of carbon monoxide and unburned hydrocarbons. There's also a special SDPF particulate filter with an SCR catalytic function and an extra selective catalytic reduction converter with an ammonia slip catalyst in the exhaust tract, which allows more effective use of the diesel unit's AdBlue reducing agent. Now, as usual with the diesel, AdBlue fluid is something that you'd regularly need to top up. It'll usually be done as part of routine servicing. The AdBlue tank has a capacity of 31.6 litres and refilling is convenient via a separate pipe behind the fuel filler cap. Whatever GLS variant you choose, you'll get all the industry's most significant current efficiency aids, of course. So both versions of this Mercedes get an eco start-stop function to cut the engine when you don't need it, stuck in traffic or waiting at the lights. And there's a system that disconnects the engine from the transmission at cruising speeds. Plus, Mercedes has also done its best to boost efficiency with sleek aerodynamics, hence the very creditable 0.32 CD drag coefficient figure, down from 0.35 CD before. That's courtesy of a more wind-cheating design for the door mirrors, the rear lights and the wheels, plus sleeker underbody panelling. As a result of all this, real-world efficiency here is actually a bit better than the figures we gave you earlier seem to suggest. This GLS 400D has managed about 30 miles to the gallon on average in our hands throughout this test, which with the 90-litre fuel tank filled would mean a driving range of about 600 miles. Throw in more motorway work and you might expect that consumption figure to climb closer to 40 miles to the gallon, which would give you a travelling range approaching 750 miles. To achieve this, of course, the driver will need to play his or her part. Obviously, to get anywhere near the returns we've quoted, you'll need to set the Dynamic Select driving mode system into its Eco setting. This marginally limits the accelerator pedal curve and also slightly restricts the output of the seat heating, the heated rear window and the air conditioning. You can also bring up two options on the two fascia monitors that'll help. A consumption option in the vehicle section of the centre dash screen graphically shows your recent attempts at frugality, and a selectable eco display in the instrument binnacle grades your driving based on acceleration, deceleration and constancy of speed, showing in real time the bonus frugality you've achieved through careful driving since the start of your trip. What else? Well, as with all large luxury SUVs, VED tax will take quite a chunk out of your budget. The basic annual VED figure for diesels is £830 and for petrols it's up at £1,240. All GLS models will then cost £450 a year in VED for the next 5 years before dropping to the standard £140 annual rate. On top of that, because all GLS models are priced well above the £40,000 mark, owners will need to pay a luxury car tax VED supplement that'll set them back an extra £310 in the first year of ownership. That annual charge then rising to £450 until the fifth year of ownership. Now, if you're wondering about benefit-in kind taxation, we'll tell you that this 400D model sits in the 37% bracket, as does the Mercedes-AMG 63 variant. Predictably, residual values aren't anything like as high as those that you get for the brand's classic G-Class SUV. Independent experts reckon that an owner of a highly spec'd GLS 400D could expect to see 43 to 49% of original purchase price back after a typical 3-year, 36,000-mile ownership period. That's about the same as you get from a comparable Range Rover D300, but a rival BMW X7 xDrive 40DM Sport model could manage as much as 56% over the same period. Other things we'll need to tell you include the comprehensive 3-year unlimited mileage warranty, the same as BMW, but better than Audi's 3-year 60,000 mile package. This is built upon by Mercedes' Mobilo scheme, which delivers breakdown cover for up to 30 years, as long as you continue to have your car serviced at a Mercedes main dealer. And it's worth knowing that your maintenance outlay can be kept a little in check by going for the optional service care package that takes care of routine maintenance, spreading the cost of regular servicing, guaranteeing the price of parts and labour for up to 4 services, and covering the cost of all recommended service items such as brake fluid, spark plugs, air filters, fuel filters and screen wash. There's also an assist dashboard service indicator that monitors engine use and tells you exactly when a garage visit is due. For reference, servicing is usually required every 15,500 miles or every year, whichever comes first. That fixed cost service care plan that I just mentioned could cost you as little as around £33 a month, based on either a 2-service 2-year deal, 3 years with 3 services, or 4 years with 4 services. It's also worth mentioning that the optional Mercedes Me Connect services package includes remote self-diagnostic capability, which enables your GLS to monitor wear and tear items and alert your local dealer to let you know if something needs seeing to. You can also insure your car through Mercedes, though most company drivers will have this included in their lease cost. If you do pay the insurance on your car, you'll need to know about ratings, which are a little on the high side. The 2 mainstream versions of this GLS 400D diesel are rated up at Group 47E. It's 48E for this Premium Plus Executive version. The Mercedes-AMG GLS 63 4MATIC Plus is rated at Group 48E in Standard Night Edition form, or Group 50E in Top Night Edition Executive guise. If you're in the unusual position of wanting a huge 7-seat super luxury SUV that can climb the lower slopes of Snowdon, then stop by Sainsbury's on the way to an evening at the Ritz, then you won't be disappointed with this one. But then, that much we already knew about this Mercedes. The thing that's changed with the third generation version of this design has been a broadening of its appeal. Now it reaches out below its price point to an Audi Q7 class customer and above its asking figure to lower order Range Rover buyers. Customers in either category may not necessarily need this car's huge size or ultimate off-road prowess, but hey, they didn't really need a big SUV in the first place, so why not buy one that really ticks all the boxes? This GLS does, and in third generation form manages to do so with a far more dynamic personality. A BMW X7 claims much the same and has the advantage of lighter weight and features like four-wheel steering, which together can make it feel a little more agile and manoeuvrable. This Mercedes, though, feels commanding, properly premium, and somehow manages to be just a touch more aspirational. Plus, there are numerous lovely design touches we think you'll really like. For likely customers, all this will matter. True, this GLS isn't quite the all-round proposition a Range Rover can be, but in many respects it offers far more car for much less money, which means that in your SUV search for the biggest and the best, you shouldn't overlook it.